Good evening. Welcome to our third get-together, but our second pillar. Happy Hanukkah to everyone. Chag Sameach. Hanukkah, the theme of Hanukkah is light, candles, light, and the learning about leadership is learning to be a light up those around you, to bring guidance, confidence, and simply leadership. They'll follow you. So today, first I want to welcome, not everyone had a chance to meet, Assouline. Assouline, you may have seen on the email, Dvorah unfortunately had to attend to her father is not well and took a little leave of absence. And Assouline joined us and is going to be the administrator here, and she's full of great energy, and we look forward to Assouline adding to the program throughout. It's great to see all of you, mentors, fellows, and it's a privilege to have also with us our guest speaker, Daniel Assouline. Just a few words about Daniel Assouline. Daniel has been a leader, founder, executive, investor in various high-tech companies, and like the dream of every high-tech entrepreneur is to have a great exit, and thank God his company was acquired by a big company in Europe, and he moved out of that space. Daniel's now very involved in real estate projects in the US, Canada, and beyond. And Daniel has been very involved in community in a number of capacities in the past few years as well. And Daniel's a great person. So we're very happy to have Daniel here with us, having led the company with hundreds of employees, having dealt with people from different continents. There's a lot of what we've been practicing coming for tonight, tolerance. It's about being able to accept differences and work in a positive way with people that come with different cultures and different ways. So Daniel, the floor is yours. After Daniel speaks the last line,
thank you, everyone. I'll give you a brief history about myself. I was born here in Montreal from Jewish Moroccan parents. The first one to be born in Montreal. My sister was actually born in Morocco. At the age of 5, we moved to Zaire, or what is now called Congo. And we spent, I think, 6 years in Congo, then I moved to Guadeloupe for 3 years, and then moved back to Montreal. And at the age of 16, I had sold my first business, and I moved to Paris for 4 years before I came back here to do my MBA and start my professional career. Why am I saying this is that early on, I've learned to deal with many different people from different nationalities and different backgrounds. Let me give you a few examples of some of the things I was growing up. So when I was growing up in Zaire, we lived in a very small community. It was mostly expatriates. For some strange reason, I would say 30% of those were Jews. And we had a big Jewish community center, and so I lived and I grew up in a kind of almost Jewish sheltered life in this city in the middle of Africa. When I moved back to, and I was going to Jesuit school, and when I moved to Guadeloupe, I followed in Jesuit school as well, because if you want to get the best education, there were no Jewish schools, and so this was where you went. And my first real bad experience with tolerance, I guess, was in Montreal when I moved here at the age of about 13. I came to a school called Stanislas, and from the first day, people knew I was Jewish, and I started to feel the racism at a very early age. And being called a Jew was a daily occurrence, and I was being picked on very early on, and for quite a bit of time. I remember also that when I moved to Paris a few years later, I met a whole new group of friends, and we didn't really talk about religion much, and we didn't really talk about many things. I mean, we talked about politics, we talked about all these things, but not much religion. And one time we were at dinner all together, and one of my friends was sitting on my right, starts to say something bad about Jews. I don't remember exactly the comment, but it surprised me a little bit. And then somebody else on the other side of the table starts to pick up on this and say something worse. And at one point I tell them, I stopped them and said, guys, do you realize I'm Jewish? And they all stopped and looked at me and said, oh my God, we didn't realize. And I quickly learned that either I should wear a kippah to announce my religion, or you have to figure out a way to actually announce my things, because it's helpful to know who likes you and doesn't like you in any given environment. So those were kind of the early touches I had with intolerance and kind of growing up and living with this. Having said this, the rest of my story is actually much more positive. These were the early days, as well as my last experience was maybe 30 years ago. I believe that today we live in a much more tolerant society, and I just have to look at my kids and the friends that they have and the friends that come home with to know that we live in a much more tolerant society, and I hope that you guys certainly will feel racism the same way that I did. However, beyond racism, which is really kind of the lowest level, I'd like to talk to you about what tolerance really means and what it's led me to over the course of the years. Before I get there, I'm a strong believer that no matter what you do in life, no matter what problem you look at in life, the more perspectives you have of any given problem, the smarter you become, the deeper the knowledge and the broader the knowledge of that problem becomes, and therefore the outcome and the solutions that you're going to come up with are going to be so much better, right? If you look at any given problem, you just look at it from a financial perspective, you might come up with some good solutions. If you look at it from a marketing perspective, you will come up with another good set of solutions. If you look at it from, let's say, design perspective, you will come up. And so when you round up all those perspectives, this is when all those things come together, crystallize, and make a better solution, a better product, a better decision all the time. Why is this important? It's because what I realize is that different cultures, different people, all come with different solutions and different ways to look at things. When I grew up primarily as a French speaker, because I was growing up in Africa, and so French was my mother tongue, and I learned English here in Montreal, and I realized that over the course of years, speaking English changed my way of thinking. Just a language can have a very radical way and very, profound way in terms of how it shapes your thought process, right? And thinking in French, for me, actually is a much more circular process than actually thinking in English. Why am I saying this is that each and every one of our cultures, everybody thinks in different ways. They all bring strengths, they all bring different ways of looking at problems that we may not always see. And in my companies, when you invited me, one of my CEOs ex-CEOs was sitting next to me, and I told him the subject of the thing. He says, yeah, that's funny because I've always felt that you went out of your way to recruit immigrants. And it kind of provoked a thought, and I said to myself, well, why? And this was the reason why. Because I've always felt that immigrants come in, and bring you many different things to the table. We work in a tech company, and I sell my products all over the world. Canada only accounts for about 4% of our, used to account for only 4% of our volume. Right, so thinking globally, thinking with many different cultures, looking at having a marketing team comprised of Indians, Africans, French people, Quebecers, and Jews, and all these types of things, just complemented our ways of thinking and made our whole product and our whole thinking, I think, a whole lot better. And so rather than just thinking that this was a problem or this is something that we had to manage, it's actually something that we now went out of our way to go and kind of recruit and get people from different cultures. I think the first time that you came to visit me, and you told me, you should put mezuzahs on the table, on the doors and everything, which we eventually did. And it dawned on me that, what, for us, we hadn't put our mezuzahs on the table, or on the doors rather, but for all the other religions and for all the other cultures, we had gone out of our way to please them. And so we had made every possible occasion during Ramadan to actually dedicate a conference room for prayers. Right? We did all types of things for Diwali, all types of things and everything for ourselves. We did a little bit less. In hindsight, it reminded me at this moment that we should have done just as much for us as we did for others. But it was also a lesson that rather than just tolerate, we should actually embrace these structures, make them feel welcome. And I believe, and this is kind of the final parting words that I want to say, is that if you do a good job at making sure that you hire people from different cultures, if you treat them well, and if you have a strong team, not only will you make better decisions, you will have a stronger team, but you will also have a profound effect on society. You will be able to show to people how it is that you can really show tolerance to other people, and what you will leave also, this is not something that's lost on me, but it's never lost on me that I'm a Jew. And it's never lost on me that as a Jew I have an obligation to show by example. And I know that when I'm being judged both as Daniel, but often also as a Jew. And so my standards have to be higher. And so when I do these things, when I welcome all these other cultures into our group, into our society, what we're also saying, what we're also doing is showing them what a good Jew is and what a Jew is, and then changing their minds sometimes about their own intolerances, their own prejudices, and creating a whole better world for each and every one of us. Those are my final words.
Wants to start, wants to be the first, yes. Say your name so you can...
John Pfeiffer, mentor. I just was wondering what it was like in Congo, Zaire, for
It was actually a beautiful experience. It was probably one of the best years of my life. It was a small group of a few hundred expatriates. We saw each other all the time. We had families coming over all the time, Jews, non-Jews. I can't remember lunch when we didn't have friends over, or dinner when we didn't have friends over, or we went over at somebody else's house and everything. So it was a very strong sense of community, and I think that's what it took away. And it was a very pleasant childhood.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
What did you do when your friends, whatever your so-called friends, were talking about the religion in front of you?
Well, I stopped talking to, I think, all but one who took my side at that moment. And I think those just disappeared. And I remember feeling, you just said it, or I don't know if I said it, but at that time I remember feeling that I wish I'd been black. Because at least when you're black and you enter a room, you know who likes you and who doesn't like you. Now, having said that, blacks have much more than Jews in many different cases, so all said, I'm still lucky, but it's true that's why I said, I want to wear a kippah, because and I did for a while, because I said to myself, you know what, at least people, I will know by the reaction of people if they like me or they don't like me. If they don't like me, at least I know how to deal with it.
It would have been better for you to have them try to appreciate you being Jewish?
There have been many moments in my life where I felt this was possible. And I've had many moments in my life where I've had anti-Semitic people. I remember one of my good friends actually was a neo-Nazi when I met him. And he turned out to be a dated Jew and almost married her, and he now loves Jews and just a normal person. The big difference between this group of friends and the other ones is that this group of friends was highly intelligent and highly cultured. And so I felt that they knew better. It was a choice. The other friends, sometimes they don't know any better, right? And so when they don't know any better, it's your duty to educate them, to show them a different way. When they know better and they've picked it because it's a choice, then trying to get them back is a very, very arduous task. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other question? I'd like to ask a question. You said you sold your first business at 16. You spoke a lot about the tolerance thing, which is very, very good. But in terms of being a self-starter, a leader, when did you start? When did you feel that somehow that you can make things happen on your own? And
at the age of 13, I told myself that by the age of 30, I would make my first million. I was a very determined kid, and I was obsessed about money. It's not necessarily a good thing, but this was my goal. And so, from a very early age, I decided that making money was something I wanted to do, and so I spent my days trying to figure out ways of doing it. And so my first video game, after my first summer of getting a computer, because I learned how to program a game, and so I sold it in the summer, made $3,000, which 40 years ago, so to say, it was a lot of money, right? So I ended with this, and then I bought another computer, I started developing another software, I started business at Dusanio when we were 16. did another business at the age of 21, sold at the age of 23. Then I did, but in all these businesses that I did, I sold them and everything, but it was for good amounts of money, but nothing crazy. I didn't make me a millionaire in any way, shape, or form, but it was still very cool experiences, and they allowed me to make money, make a lot of experience. And eventually, what changed my whole life is because I started a series of businesses, and I was, like I said, I sold them, I made some money, nothing big. But then I worked at Dell for 7 years. Working in a big corporate environment completely changed my whole outlook on business. And when I actually left Dell and started on business, this one became very profitable very quickly and became the business that it is today. And through different iterations, we changed, we evolved, everything, but eventually this is what changed. And if I have one lesson to give you kids is, as you go out and finish your universities and diplomas, etc., some of you may have very strong entrepreneurial genes. Start your businesses, try, experiment, do all your things. But if you have a chance to work in big corporations and learn on their behalf, please do so, because you'll learn, you'll make money, you'll make mistakes on their backs, and you'll come out just a much smarter and much better person and much better equipped at starting your own business and doing it well.
Like when you sold all your your business, did it were you sad because you worked so hard for it and your money?
No. Quite the opposite. It happened a few weeks ago, and I'm still ecstatic.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
And the reason is that while they were exciting businesses, they were extremely hard businesses to manage. They're fast-moving businesses, extremely stressful, hundreds of employees. And there's just a moment where it just feels good to leave all this behind, to younger managers to take over and go to another level.
Was there ever conflict in between, you mentioned that you hired a lot of new immigrants. Was there ever conflict in between different cultures or different?
No. And I believe, again, the type of people that you hire, right, are often like you, because we hire people that we like, people that share values. And so, because of, we hired the first few employees, they hired people that were also like us and everything, and so this tolerance started from scratch. And so we never had any conflicts, we never had any tension. We had Palestinians that were working for us, we never had discussion, we never had a disagreement. We have plenty of Muslims, we still have plenty of Muslims who work with us and everything. Never a single conflict, never a bad word, never an insult, never. Everything working out smoothly, and people just working well.
When you worked at Dell, what did you do?
I started out as an account exec, so that means I was selling to large corporate customers, and they hired me to sell to companies that were buying at least $5 million or more per year. And I started with $3 million a year quota, and I ended up with $100 million a year in sales. I was very, very proud of myself. And eventually, the last 6 months I spent at Dell, I'd written a little email to Michael Dell, thinking he was going to take the email, discard it, and the day later I received an email from his number 2. They hired me in Texas. I went to Texas. I stayed 6 years with them. I was doing 6 months with them. I was doing financial analysis and technology analysis and all these things, but I realized that this was not for me. And so I missed the action, and I left the company. That's it. That's what I started.
Were all your businesses successful?
No. I started many businesses that were successful, and so our business was successful from day one. We start businesses along the way that were not successful. We start new businesses along the way that were not always successful. And even our main core business had moments where we were not successful, where things changed in such a drastic way that we were either losing money, thought we had no future, had to completely reinvent ourselves. And this happened on 2 or 3 occasions in my 15 to 20 year cycle of this business. So I cannot say that it was an easy ride up. Quite from that, we had many very big challenges along the way. I don't know if that answers your question, because it's not an easy one. I mean, it's not a straight answer, but so we had many failures along the way, but I don't want to say that we failed, because it's just part of the experiments and trying board.
Maybe you want to elaborate, how do you pick up the pieces when something is failing or things like look like there's no light at the end of the tunnel? What are your...
You know what? I've often been asked, for me, the only thing that has worked is no matter what, the next day, you wake up early and you do what you need to do. You just never give up. You do what you need to do.
You're very philanthropic, both in terms of financial, but also your time. Was it ever very challenging for you to be able to continue to build your business, all being pulled into charitable work?
It's been a challenge many times. It's always a challenge, and time management is always, at least has always been my biggest challenge. I think there's a point in time where you have to try to draw the line and say, it's kind of like a gym where you can pencil it into your calendar and you don't even know what. Same thing with this. You have to say, you know what, this is meaningful to me. This brings me something to give back to others. It is a selfish deed, right? I mean, we do it because we get also a lot of pleasure from sharing, from doing all these things. And so you just have to pencil it in. You just have to say, this is what I need to do. I need to do it. I think, coming back to what you was asking me, one of the biggest pleasures that I have now is that I have a lot more free time. And me more free time to do these types of things, more free time to spend with my family, to spend with my close friends, and a lot of things that I've sacrificed along the way. So.
If you could do it all again from when you were 13 and our time today, would you do it? Or would you get a stable job?
I would do it all again, and I would enjoy every step of the way. And I did. There were stressful moments, but it was all worth it. And what are the things? My partner and I sometimes we joke about this, but the moments that seem the hardest in our business are now the ones that seem the best. Because when we look back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years back, and we look at how we saw those moments where it was almost the end of the world or whatever, and we overcame them, and we think this is what makes us proud. And the message here that I want to send you guys is that life is going to get hard many times in your lives. And it's when you overcome these moments, when you push through, when you wake up the next day and say, it doesn't matter, I'm still here, and I'm still going to do this. It's the memories that you're going to have from those moments and overcoming those moments that are going to build the type of people that you're going to become. And so always look for challenges as bring it on, never shy away from them, always think that you're going to overcome them one or another. You're going to go through them, break through them, jump over, go to the side, whatever. You're going to find a solution, you're going to go through it, and you're going to come out feeling better, feeling stronger, just more accomplished and more capable than before. So, embrace challenge.
Can you think of what was your biggest challenge you faced in your business life, leading a company, people, events, or something that you really, it's on the spot?
My biggest challenge really has been managing people. I've always been very clear on what I need to do from a business perspective. I thought I was always clear on what I have to communicate to other people. But what I've realized is that people are people, and people are sensitive, and people have feelings. And so it's not just a question of telling them this is what we need to do and this is how you're going to do it. It's about telling them how to do it. It's about bringing them into the fold. It's about coaching them. It's about bringing them to the level. Sometimes they do not see the things that you see. And so it's about taking the extra 5 minutes, the extra 10 minutes, to show them this perspective, to show them a different way, to hear about what it is that they're saying and bring them to the speed. And so working with people is a slow process. And I'm a fast person. I like to think quick. I like to work fast and everything. And so I learned, or through my life, I try to minimize my interactions with people, or I was maybe a bit abrupt, and learning how to really empower people, work with them, appreciate them. I always appreciate it. Take the time to work with them closely, and for me has been the biggest challenge. But when you do this, even though it's a very slow process, when you do this, you're not the only one doing the job, right? You've got 100 people all working in concert, working towards the same objective. And so it's worth taking this time to invest in and to build it so that eventually you all work together as a team and towards the same goals.
Any other question?
That was great.
And I'll on this note, I wish you all incredible luck in everything that you're going to do and be great examples for everybody who needs them.
Okay, so basically, we learned a lot about like combining tolerance with our values, with our core values, and like also like religion, and like knowing how to like draw a line and like yeah, create like a balance, and knowing how to like react to certain like situations that you're faced with. And also we talked about like cancel culture and how like our society is like we say that like we're so like accepting and stuff, but it kind of goes against like cancel culture goes against everything like we're saying because of being like intolerant to people. So yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. You can take down your mask right there. We know what's next to you.
What I've learned is that how important it is to be respectful to others and not to be biased based off past or personal opinions. Also, to not judge based off race, appearance, differences, etc. I think that before you have a real opinion about someone, you should hear them out and really try to understand them. Also, to really try to find the positive instead of looking for the bad right away. Also, a big part of this is being brought up in a certain way. If you're taught to hate a certain type of person, you will always be biased about that certain type of people, which isn't morally correct. If you're brought up to love and treat everyone equally, it will benefit you to not judge and also help you communicate and interact.
You can take off your mask.
No, I'd rather keep it on.
Okay.
Okay. I was just gonna say that you don't always have to agree with the other side when it comes to tolerance. You just have to understand why they think that way and be considerate of their thoughts. So I don't really know what to say, but we talked about we talked about accepting everyone in the working field. Have a nice day.
Amen.
Let's sing.
Wow. Wow. So Yeshua,